From the EPAWA headquarters in South Allentown, Pennsylvania, it's time for Weather Weeklies, an informative video of the ins and outs of weather that affect you most in the EPAWA coverage area. The following segment is a weekly video blog, and the opinions of the forecaster do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the staff of Eastern PA Weather Authority LLC as a whole, nor its constituents. Without further ado, here is meteorologist Bobby Marchers with Weather Weeklies.
Hey, good Sunday morning to you. It is the Ides of March 15th, 2015. We have another edition of Weather Weeklies for you. We're going to get into the long-range pattern here, and we're going to discuss, we've been hearing some things about, some big blizzard coming or some last-minute snowfall. Not impossible to get snow here, but you have to understand that once we get later into March, the chances for getting significant snow go down exponentially as we get toward the end of the month. Not impossible. We've had some situations where we had the perfect setup, and you're going to need a perfect setup. We had some situations like April 6th and 7th, 1982, for example, where we had some pretty significant snow across our coverage area in excess of 10 inches in some areas. So it can happen, but it's going to take an absolutely perfect thread-the-needle type of setup. And odds are you're going to need to have it start at night, just because your temperatures this time of year are not conducive of, even if they're below normal, they're not conducive of temperatures that would sustain snowfall. So let's get into the long-range pattern here and discuss that. We actually had these area up to the 17th here, right to St. Patrick's Day, to near or above average. That does still seem to be on track. I think Tuesday we're going to have that cold front come through. It's going to knock those temperatures back to their below normal temperatures, and those below average temperatures are going to stick around through the end of the month here. So when we have below average here, you got to remember this time of year the temperatures are on either side of 50 degrees for normal highs, depending where you are. If it's a little cooler than that further south or further north, and further south might be a little bit above 50 degrees, like down towards the Philadelphia area. But we have if you're talking about below average temperatures, if it's 10 degrees below average for what it's expected to be this time of year, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be super cold. We're not talking about single digits. We're not talking about below normal or below zero temperatures. You could just be talking about highs near upper 30s to near 40 for a few days during that stretch there. So not really super cold here, but cold enough. Okay, so we did outline a couple storm threats, one of those being the 23rd or 25th. Still like that time frame, but the models aren't picking up on it yet. We had the 13th, 14th. It was actually our system that we had, Friday and Saturday. We had that as mainly rain from when we did this outlook a week prior. And then it may start as snow and ice for some, but actually wound up being a mostly rain event. Worse was some sleet to start off, but it really wasn't anything of consequence or significance. And then again, we have another one outlined here with unclear on precipitation, but likely some snow out of it. We'll have to watch that because we think there's going to be a storm in that time frame, maybe one or two threats. So the first one might be as early as the end of this week, and we'll get into that here at the end of the video as well. I want to get into the Madden-Julian oscillation. This is a measure of the convection around the international date line, or actually along the equator in relation to the international date line. Here's your look at the entire world. As if you were putting on flat paper here. That's all it is. Here's Alaska, here's North America, Central America, Florida. Not very good drawing here. But this is North America. We live right about here. Okay. Now this is a measure of your convection along the equator in relation to the international date line, which is right here. This right here has some convection almost to, it's moving eastward almost to the date line, but not quite. So this is a phase 7 signal, which is a good signal if you want cold weather in the east. Now, it doesn't hit right away, it just got into phase 7. So whatever happens, once this gets into phase 7 here, there's about a week or so lag before it gets over to our area and affects our area with a trough, which will give us colder weather. Now, this is going to be, basically, as this convection propagates eastward, the whole idea here is it throws heights at the western ridge, and it allows the ridge to build out here, and then you have a trough in the east, and the trough, of course, gives us the cold air, and that's what we're talking about. That's why we're worried about what this convection does. All the stuff in the middle of all the way out here by the international date line in the Pacific Ocean actually affects our weather here, and it's pretty amazing how that works. This, of course, this big blob here in the southern hemisphere is Cyclone Pan that devastated many of these island chains out here. And with the equivalent of a Category 5 hurricane, but they call it a cyclone, of course, because it's in the southern, the southern hemisphere, and it's pretty much the same thing. Okay, so that's going to, unlike any systems up here in the northern hemisphere, everything here moves north to south, moves the opposite. Okay, So that's moving away further south, and once that does that, it allows this convection to intensify a little bit more. Right now, a lot of the energy is being sucked in by this system here. So anyway, moving on here, this is what we're expecting to go. This is the European model from last week. The projection had us in phase 5 at that point, had us continue all the way into phase 7, and eventually trying to touch into phase 8. And you could have theorized that this could have kept going like this, but it ran out of steam and only went through the 21st of March. Now we see that it did in fact keep coming exactly like it projected it to, going right into phase 7 and then phase 8, now phase 1. These are very good phases for the Madden-Julian oscillation to bring colder weather to the northeast United States. So this is one of the things we're looking at. This model has been, this is actually the European model projection. The GFS ensembles are doing something very similar. We're bringing it into phase 8 and phase 1. So right now the models are agreeing on that aspect of things, that it will keep colder than normal through the end of the month, and that's exactly what we're looking at here. All right, so we do have those colder temperatures. There's really no question that's going to happen. One of the things we're looking at, though, is A, how cold does it get, and B, do we have the opportunity for a big East Coast storm here or not? And we're still waiting to see how the models react to that, because they keep changing run to run on what exactly to expect in that time frame that we outlined. That would be anywhere from the end of this week, the Friday through Saturday time frame, and then again as we get into early next week. Those would be your shots. And after that, I don't think you have any shots anymore. That's it. Okay. One of the things promoting this, the ridging out west, are the warm sea surface temperatures. Here's the really warm sea surface temperatures that have been driving the pattern all winter, all along the west coast and the Gulf of Alaska. Of course, the warm sea surface temperatures down here are promoting that big cyclone that we had down here in the southern hemisphere. And then we have a cold pool of water sitting out here in the western Pacific. Okay, but this has been pretty much the setup all winter. It has been driving our pattern here. This, of course, will promote a trough here around the cold air here, or cold water here in the western Pacific, and then a ridge like this, and then a trough in the east. Okay, if you have a ridge, obviously that's warm air. You have a trough, and that's cold air. So the whole idea here is their signals are still continuing to show that this is going to continue. Teleconnections keep going back and forth, though. Teleconnections are your measure. Each one of these are atmospheric teleconnections that the model produces that says what certain things will be, like certain factors in our atmosphere. And I'll try to explain these as best as I can here. This first one here is your erotic oscillation. It's your cold air source. When it dips negative, it promotes the cold air, but you can see it only dips cold for a couple days here. A cold couple days, and that's it, and then it goes back to positive again. Okay, your NAO, that's your blocking. It dips negative for a couple days here, so you have some blocking, but then it starts heading back positive again, only for a couple days. You see that? It only goes, the line going across here is your break-even point. Okay, it goes negative for a couple days in the erotic oscillation, negative for a couple days in the NAO, which is your blocking, which we obviously have been above. We have been having no blocking all winter long. Okay, and then the next thing we're looking at is your ridge out west, which is your PNA, going positive. Okay, this is a good sign. All right, if you're negative, obviously you're warmer. So this is our warmer period we were just in. This is going positive. That's going to promote a trough in the east and colder here. Okay, so that's the whole idea. And then again with the EPO, if you have that ridge out there with the sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of Alaska, as long as this is negative, it's not as negative as it was when it was really brutally cold back here. But then we got warmer for a little bit right here, and we're going to go colder again, but only slightly colder. That's the whole idea. All right, now here, this is all depending on what this does here with the sea surface temperatures, and of course our Madden-Julian oscillation does. So these are all tied together. All right, going into a graphical look of the up at 500 millibar, what we're looking at for as far as an anomaly is concerned. This is a look at Monday. Now Monday it's going to be really warm here. We're going to have temperatures in the mid to upper 50s in many locations. And you can see that these reds here are showing that warm. Here is Monday. Warm air coming in here. All your cold air is right here. Here's your cold air. Here's your cold air. And cold air up here, of course, in western, up in Siberia. That's where all your cold air is in relation to normal. These are departures from normal. And as we get into the week coming up, it's going to change a little bit. All right, you have a trough out here, ridge, trough. And we have cold air coming in here into the northeast United States with the PV setting right up over top of us. So there's where you have your cold air. This isn't verbatim. This is not a pattern that would be conducive of a major East Coast storm. However, there are some threats of some weather coming this week. Now, there's different ways that the GFS is handling it different. It has almost like a split flow out here on the GFS. All right, the European model, Canadian model are all handling this a little bit differently. Here's a look at the GFS for Thursday night and Friday. Now, this is very fast with this system. Very fast. Takes it well to the south here from basically Myrtle Beach. Takes it out here in this direction like this and harmlessly out to sea. You get some rain showers here across the southern or extreme southeastern areas. This is Thursday night into Friday. All right, and that's no big deal. You're probably, well, what are you showing this for? Well, the Canadian shows something different. It's a day later, slower with it. The pattern gets a little bit more amplified. This comes up a little bit further north, up here by Cape Hatteras. Actually redevelops by Cape Hatteras. Actually comes in here like this and redevelops to Cape Hatteras and heads off in this direction like this. This brings in enough cold air here and is coming in Friday night into Saturday. So again, coming in at night when you need it to. You're going to have something that if you're going to have snow come in, you're going to have accumulating snow, you're going to need to come in at night when the temperatures are colder. You don't have that sun working against you this time of year. So it's coming in Friday night. Plenty of cold air in place. And if it is this far north, you get snow on the northern side. The European model did hint at this a little bit too, but it was not quite as strong on the northwestern side with the snowfall. It didn't bring the precip shield further enough northwest like the Canadian does here. We're only talking about this Friday night. This is it. I mean, today's Sunday. We're talking about 5 days from now. So this is something that could happen, but we'll have to keep an eye on it to see what it does. The Canadian has been showing this a couple times now. The European model showed it once yesterday. Last night it kind of backed off of it and went a little bit further south. And the GFS is way south and way fast. But this is if this does happen, this is something the Canadian showed here. This has showed a moderate snowfall across our area. So not impossible, but it's all going to come down to this time of year being involved with timing, perfect timing, and also the dynamics of the system. You know, if it's a stronger system and dynamics can take over, you can get some dynamic cooling and things like that. You're really going to need that if you're going to have a storm falling in the day, or snow falling in the day. And your road conditions will be a lot better too. It's going to be a lot more difficult for any snow to accumulate on the roads this time of year. So even at night, I think even at night you might have some enough heat, radiational heating during the day that the roadways, the dark macadam it's going to retain some heat. And even at night, it's going to be difficult for it to accumulate on the roadways. But if it's coming down heavy enough, dynamics, of course, can overcome that. So it's not impossible. Again, we'll keep an eye on this. I don't think it's going to exactly happen exactly what the Canadian has right here, but it's something to pay attention to. Just because we could have we have one, maybe two threats, maybe one after this. Of course, nothing's modeled after this in the 10-day time frame. This is the mid-range. This is sitting right around about 6-7 days from now, or 6-7 days into the future. About 6, I'd say, about 6 days instead of versus 10. But there's nothing showing on the models at the day 10 range right now that we're looking for. Probably the 21st to the 26th time frame is really what we're looking at. All right, so one, maybe two systems here that could be wintry, and then after that, I think we're done. And then we just stay just cold through the end of the month, and we might start moderating as we get into April. Of course, we're going to be starting into our My Pocket Meteorologist program for the severe season coming up. A little bit different for severe season. We're going to actually send you alerts, not just for the severe weather, but also during nowcasting. If you have a storm heading toward your area that looks threatening, we will actually send you an alert to your phone and say, we have a storm coming. It's going to be 45 minutes in duration. Expect heavy downpours, dangerous lightning, whatever that storm might have. So you'll be able to prepare if you're outdoors and you're caught in it. So it's not going to be just for the severe weather. It's going to be for ones that are just regular garden variety thunderstorms. But at least you can plan around it, know the duration, how long it's going to last, what to expect in terms of lightning, hail, winds, anything like that. So heavy rain. So we're going to get into that here very shortly. We're looking to do that April 1st. Of course, we're going to have a new premium site for a forum, not as opposed to the Facebook page we have now. We're going to try to start that with the severe season to coincide with our theme change on the website. And of course, we already got a new server for the higher traffic we've been experiencing with the increased fan base. Obviously, we had a lot of crashes this last winter with our server, we have changed that so we don't have those crashes anymore, and have a much more powerful server and cache systems. And the new major private client acquisitions are just about signed and sealed now. We'll be able to announce those this week coming up, and there are some pretty big ones. Of course, we already have Arts Quest and Music Fest and all the year-round programs with Arts Quest. These are two other very major acquisitions we had for the private side of our business. We'll be announcing that this week coming up. I'm Eastern PA Weather Authority meteorologist Bobby Martrich, and that is this edition of Weather Weeklies for the Ides of March, March 15th, 2015. We'll see you again next week, and see if we can narrow down any more storm signals that we have through the end of the month as we get into the end of the month in early April on March 22nd. Take care.